Hello there, and welcome to another of my occasional videos on World of Warships. This one features the Tier 5 American cruiser, the Omaha, which I have decided is best at pommeling opponents with HE, so I haven't set it up in quite the way that the game recommends. Let's go and look at that now. I have three main aims with this ship. First, as I'm pummeling the enemies with HE, I want to set as many fires as possible. Secondly, I don't want to get shot. That seems obvious, but this is a floating citadel like most of the low-tier cruisers. Thirdly, I'll be playing a supporting role. And with that in mind, I haven't set up the commander the way that the game recommends. So I've gone for grease the gears to turn the turrets more quickly. I'm going to use Gunfeeder to swap between HE and AP more quickly, which will allow me to shoot at the broadside cruisers that I encounter, particularly Tier 5s. And then I've gone for Demolition Expert, and that increases the chance of causing a fire, also the explosion radius when I'm attacking submarines, which is quite useful. I want to know if I've got multiple ships aiming at me so I can run. So I'm using priority target, and then I have two undistributed skill points. They're waiting for a third skill point to come available, and then I'll use those on heavy HE and SAP shells to increase the damage that I'm doing, plus reduce the ship's detectability. And then I'll be trying to collect 4 points, and I will use Concealment Expert. Now I think that adds up to 16 points in all. That leaves me 5 more points to play with, and either I will use 4 of those points on Inertia Fuse for HE shells, very attractive looking skill this, and then use the spare point on one of the other skills at the lower rank, or another skill that I really like is Adrenaline Rush. Unfortunately I can't have both of these, it's going to be either or, but that is a long way in the future. Let's have a look at the characteristics of the ship briefly. Armor layout, and I interpret that in a sentence as don't get shot. Survivability, don't get shot. Artillery, well, as you know, I'm going to be using a lot of HE shells and trying to set fires as much as possible. Torpedoes, very short range, 5.5 kilometers, so only to be used up close and personal for finishing probably big targets like battleships or aircraft carriers. Airstrike, useful against submarines. AA defense is not great, but you do have the consumable here, which I forget to use in the forthcoming replay. I'll point that out to improve that. Maneuverability, okay at 60. That's reasonably maneuverable. It will allow you to dodge torpedoes, I've found, and the maximum speed is quite nice at 34 knots. Concealment, I need to improve this. It's only 57. Turning the attention to the equipment, nothing fancy here. I have gone with what's recommended. So the main armaments modification 1, engine room protection, and aiming systems modification. Now, in a new departure for me, I have started using signals. This is the second ship on which I've used signals. The first one was the Langley, the aircraft carrier. And as you can see, I have Juliet Charlie, Victor Lima, India X-Ray, and November Echo Zeta 7. Having skipped through what I've done with the ship fairly quickly, let's go and see how I performed in battle, and where I do play a supporting role, but not to the ships I expected. As we go into battle, let's have a quick overview. It's the New Dawn map, a domination battle, and the battle tier is tier 6. There are vessels from all 5 classes in the game, and on the enemy team, apart from the destroyers and the submarines, I'll be keeping a particular eye out for the Pensacola and the Nuremberg. Let's get into it. My plan here was to support the T-22 and the U-69 submarine, and perhaps provide a bit of spotting for the New York, but if you look at the map, we're on the right flank. You can see the New York has immediately turned to port, and I can tell you that he sails off to the other flank and takes no part in the battle that takes place up here over Cap Point A. I could have followed him, and I did consider it, but I decided that I'd try and support the T-22 and the U-69 and only leave if circumstances turned adverse at this Cap Point. So I'm going to go and try and get behind the big island just off to port there. Not so close that I can't lob shells over it though, and we'll see what this submarine and the destroyer can spot for me, and let's see if we can do some damage with the HE shells. Now, I was a little bit slow getting off because I was looking around to see what my team were doing, and that has a consequence, as you'll see shortly when I arrive at the island. So I've been detected already. I'm assuming it's aircraft. Without knowing where they are, I've set a priority sector on the AA. So both the submarine and the destroyer are going to go in the gap between the two larger islands. I'm nearly at the point where I can start doing some useful work. I want to be a little bit closer to this island in front, but not so close that I can't throw shells over the top of it. And we see a glacier in the background. And then we find that the destroyer has very quickly got into the middle, restored. I hadn't realised he was just about to set off. So the salvo I fired at him, thinking that he was stationary, missed. I then aimed badly. Not unusual for me with destroyers. Underestimate how fast they're going and begin to try and adjust. Just missed there, but now I think I've got a proper lead, and this time I'm fairly confident we're going to hit the destroyer. And whilst that's true, it's only a small amount of damage that we do. So we keep firing at him. And I think our T-22 must have run into torpedoes. He looked as if he was broadside, which isn't smart when you're fighting another destroyer. And he's gone. So we've only got the submarine in there. We've lost sight of the destroyer, but I can see the glacier. And already I'm beginning to think, what's my exit strategy here? Now the glacier fortunately turns, because otherwise I think I would have had to also turn and start kiting away from this sector, or cap point. And the glacier appears to be unaware of me, so has stopped dead. Trying to use the smoke as cover. However, I know where he was, so I hit him with a blind salvo. Now I see he's moved off. I decide to move forward and follow a nearly parallel track. I hope that the submarine spots him. And in fact, the submarine spots not only him, but also the destroyer. I have a free shot at the destroyer. And then reselect the glacier as my target. Doing some semi-blind firing over the island. Don't get it right that time. Slight adjustment. The submarine has done bad damage to the stored. But unfortunately the stored has managed to get rid of the submarine. And now it's a question of when am I going to bail out here, not if. So I begin to make a turn, which will allow me to turn my bow towards the middle of the map. As you can see, I'm beginning to maneuver to do that. This is going to be tight because the glacier looks like he's going to come around the corner. And I'm now too close to the island to be able to throw shells over it. Now it's possible I might be able to throw torpedoes around the corner here. But I decide to wait and see what happens with the glacier, where he comes round, or indeed if he doubles back and tries to come around behind me. I'm already in kiting mode to make it hard shot initially. Unsurprisingly, the enemy has taken cap point A, and there's the glacier. Full on broadside. Think about torpedoes. I release them in two very different directions. This is mainly to harass him, try and make him spend time looking at my torpedoes rather than shooting at me. And that seems to work. He doesn't get a volley off for quite a while. And he begins to fire as he's avoided the torpedoes. I get a critical hit on him. Still firing HE at this point, but I finally decide to change to AP just as I very nearly kill him anyway. And down he goes. However, my work at this flank, as far as I'm concerned, is done. I'm not going to necessarily go in. Now, I know the Stord is low health, but I don't know what might be behind him. So at this point, I was going to go and try and help operations at flank B, cap point B. So we'll just speed up a little. Then I noticed that the Baleriers, I don't know how to pronounce that clearly, is coming through cap point B, which is secured. So I decide to start making a circle and see if I can support him in attacking anything that may be near cap point A. Let's just slow down again. Lots of aircraft in the vicinity. Their carrier has been spotted. That's important for later in the game because I remember that. Still nothing seen so far. So, having pointed out that the carrier is where he is, hiding behind that island, let's just speed up again. Coming a bit closer to the Baleares. I apologise for anybody who knows how to pronounce that correctly. Now I can see smoke, which gives away the position of what is probably the stored. And I have a quick look at the teams and I can see that the Fujin, the other destroyer, is already down, so it must be the stored. Slow down to normal speed here, and I was going to go in and try and get a crossfire with the Baleares against whatever we found in Cat Point A. Unfortunately, the Baleares gets deleted. Now there's no one else near me, and I decide that we're going to try and take Cat Point A because we're seriously behind on points. And at this point I'm picked up by their submarine, so I immediately swing away, having been pinged. Surfaces. I deploy an airstrike. Not very well placed, I have to avoid these torpedoes, and I make a mess of it. Swing my stern out too much and I collect one of the torpedoes. Narrowly avoid being collected by another one. Tries to ping me again, just catches a stern I believe, but now I've got the measure of my airstrike. I put it in a much better position this time. There's the drop, it's just leaving the box. But we get some damage. And also a useful flood. Give more lead this time. And the submarine knows what's going on. He's released his torpedoes. He's made a very sharp port turn. I've seen that though. Waiting to place another airstrike in front of him. Clearly, whilst he's orientated there, he can't fire more torpedoes at me. He comes right into the box. Drop the airstrike. And we get more flooding on him as we do more damage. And now, because I've got the cover of the island, I turn in. I'm continuing with the airstrike. It took me some time to realise that RU-69 had actually dealt with the submarine. I was still waiting to try and drop an airstrike on him as he came around here, trying to finish me off. So, having noted that it took me a while to notice that, let's speed up. I need to avoid whatever is shooting at me because I've been detected. Now not detected, I decide to go around the island and go into the Cat Point. And at this point we are losing both on points and number of ships destroyed, so it's not looking good. We definitely need this Cat Point. More importantly, we need to start taking down some of the enemy. As I enter the Cat Point, I'm detected, so we'll slow down. The Derflinger is over there. Fortunately, most things are out of range. The DD that spotted me disappears, then reappears, but not where I can shoot him. And as he's just going behind the island, he decides to unleash some shells at me. However, he remains spotted, and I'm watching very carefully as he comes around this island. And he makes the mistake of continuing to sail straight. And for once, I get my lead right first time. This is the stored from earlier on very low health, and down he goes. Now that's a good kill as far as I'm concerned. That's the eyes of the enemy team taken away. We still have one of our destroyers who can probably do some good work. Their submarines are also dead, and I've remembered where the aircraft carrier is. First I want to capture this Cat Point though. Six more seconds. Considering firing at the Derflinger, but I don't want to be spotted. And then I decide that I will fire it at him after all and provide some support because he's heading straight for our carrier. I suspect our carriers have gone out anyway, but at least I can take something out of the Derflinger. At least I hope I can. Nice damage there. Bit like the Derflinger is so intent on killing the carrier that he won't bother worrying about me. And both of their battleships seem very intent on our aircraft carrier. That's probably a good thing. I'm now going to swap my attention to their aircraft carrier, who apparently has been oblivious to my approach. And I make a couple of mistakes here. First off, to avoid detection by aircraft, I had turned off my AA and secondaries. I failed to turn them back on, even though I set a priority sector. Secondly, I also forget that I've got an aircraft consumable, which I could have launched here to fend off the enemy aircraft. I'm so intent on getting my shots in on the aircraft carrier and avoiding the attacking aircraft that I overlook those two things. Don't do that. That's a new player's mistake. The carrier finally responds by moving. I'm trying to find where his critical points are, which is why I'm shooting at the ends of his ship. And all the time I'm moving around as well to try and throw off this aircraft. So the torpedo bombers come in. It's not a particularly good drop. Bit of a rushed job by the carrier, I would say, there, and they're easy to avoid. It swings into me, and that's more or less perfect for torpedoes, so I launch those. Lucky not to get hit by something else trying to defend the carrier. Just in case those aren't good enough for the job. I launch a second salvo of torpedoes, but we've got the carrier down. That has begun to turn the battle in our favour. Now I need to avoid this last set of attacking aircraft. They all miss. And although I did take damage from probably the carrier's secondaries, as well as a little bit from the aircraft, I've still got a little bit of health where I can, which I can use to contribute towards this battle. We're 4 ships to 2 up. However, the enemy has 51,000 worth of hit points, and we only have 22,000. So we've got to be canny about this. We can make our superior numbers of guns and torpedoes count, but we can't give ourselves up freely, unless it means killing one of them. I'm sailing back towards the middle. We now have all of the cap points. The Derflinger has returned from having killed, or helped kill, the aircraft carrier. It's pretty low health. I'm hoping that it's the destroyer that he's focused upon and has his guns pointing the wrong way, and then just at the wrong moment he disappears. So I asked for somebody to spot him. Meanwhile, I go around the island just to make sure I stay out of spotting range of the Derflinger. And there we spot the Derflinger. Now, he has got his guns the wrong way, but they appear to be turning. This is a bit risky. I have no health. If he gets a salvo off at me, I'm probably dead. But if I can get his health down, and he is using a health consumable there, you can see the hit points are going up. So I need to reduce the effect of that as much as possible. And I can see that our U-69 is in a perfect attack posture. So I'm completely distracting the Derflinger, and he'll probably keep sailing straight, so he can get a salvo on me and fall victim to the, I hope, to the submarine. And he finally does kill me just as the submarine kills him. Unfortunate, but I thought that was worthwhile sacrifice. And that leaves them with 1 ship. We have a destroyer and a submarine up against a battleship. Well, I can tell you that not much else happens here that's of interest. We'll speed up. Their battleship does manage to capture the cap point B, but wisely our 2 ships sail away from him. We've got a points lead. We've got 2 of the cap points. Provided they don't both die, this is a game that we have won. A lot of ribbons there, nearly 75,000 points worth of damage and a healthy credit balance. Just going to the team score, we can see that that's 1946 experience, which is really good for me, very nearly the 2000 mark, second on the team and 3 kills. Just a little bit of the detail if you want to study that by pausing the video. And similarly with the credits and XP. And I felt pleased with the way that I handled myself in that battle as a new player. Well, I enjoyed that battle, and I'm happy with the way that I've set the Omaha up, where I use HE to output good damage and to start fires. I would recommend to any new player to look at videos put out by more experienced players of the game, and I want to put on record here that I'm indebted to the series created by the well-known World of Warships streamer Wookiee Legend. I'm finding his videos really helpful, and if you're a new player like me, I do recommend that you go and find his YouTube channel and watch those videos. Well, not long ago, had I seen the New York leaving my flank as I did in this battle, I would have followed automatically. I think I've improved enough to know I can wait and see if I'm in the right ship and perhaps do useful things before departing myself. In this battle, that led to the destruction of the Galicia and the opportunities to recapture Cap Point A and then find a path to the enemy aircraft carrier. Conceivably, had I not done those things, my team wouldn't have won that battle. Well, I hope you found that interesting, and that if you did, you'll come and see my future content. But until the next time, this is the Noble Q, signing off.